Welcome to the Young Minds of Food Safety podcast, where science is in our DNA. Join us as young scientists from the Food Safety 4 EU project share cutting-edge research and innovations shaping a safer, more sustainable food system. Hosted by LVA.
Welcome to Young Minds of Food Safety, the podcast where we uncover scientific insights and innovations shaping the future of food systems. I'm your host, David Steiner. Today, we are delving into the evolving world of safety assessment for novel foods, a crucial area as our industry pushes for more sustainable and ethical testing alternatives. Joining us is Mami Ekua Manful, a PhD researcher at the Technological University Dublin. Mami is pioneering new approach methodologies, also known as NAMs, which are alternative techniques designed to reduce and replace traditional animal-based toxicology tests. With governments and industry leaders alike striving to meet consumers' demand for sustainability, Mami's work focuses on creating safer, ethically tested novel foods through advanced science-based methods. Her publication in Trends in Food Science and Technology highlights the importance of NAMs for companies seeking novel food status. Today we will discuss how these methodologies can support regulatory approvals, reduce environmental impacts, and ultimately pave the way for a more ethical and efficient food safety landscape. So, welcome, Mom. It's a really pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you, David. I'm honored to be on that show.
So, Mom, can you maybe give our listeners a quick overview of what your research focuses on and why it is important for the future of food safety?
Yeah, thank you, David, for that question. So I would like to give the broader context of my research and how that is linked to food safety. So my research is in the context of the valorization of byproducts from olive, grape, and almonds. So there is a project called Up for Health, which is an acronym for Upcycling for Health. It is an EU-funded project under the Bio-Based Industries Joint Undertaking. And in Up for Health, byproducts such as olive pomace, olive pits, grape seeds, and almond oil cake are converted into value-added ingredients. And these will further be incorporated as natural or healthy ingredients in the food, nutraceutical, and cosmetic applications. Now, my role here is to ensure that these novel ingredients are safe for human consumption. And in much more detail, I perform risk assessments of these ingredients. And this is being conducted at Technological University Dublin in Ireland in the Food Innovation Lab under the leadership of Dr. Catherine Byron. So why is this important for the future of food safety? This is important because every new ingredient that comes to the market needs to be demonstrated as safe. And this is to protect consumer health, even if they are natural. So there is this notion that natural ingredients are safe, but it is not always the case. And we are in an era where consumers are currently demanding natural products because of sustainability reasons, because they want to stay healthy. So for that to be done, there is the need to conduct risk assessments or safety assessments to protect consumer health and also comply to regulatory requirements.
And within your work, there is this term called new approach methodologies, right? You are focusing on. So for those who are unfamiliar with this term, can you maybe explain it to our listeners, and how do they differ from the traditional animal-based testing?
Yeah, so new approach methodologies, or NAMs, as I would call it, they are tools that have been employed for safety evaluation, and these do not involve the use of whole animals or higher rank animals such as rodents, monkeys, or dogs. So I would just give an overview of what the traditional toxicology method is and how NAMs, have emerged as an alternative to traditional toxicological methods. So in food toxicology, what we are aiming to do is to assess doses of ingredients or substances and their effects on living systems. And over the years, animals or let's say rodents have been used for this purpose. And this has helped to prove or categorize whether substances are safe or not. But then there's been issues that have arisen when it comes to sustainability, ethics, and translational relevance, and even their reproducibility. And there is also the issue of cost and also time. So there has been a way to mitigate these concerns, and that gave birth to, or that paved way for NAMS. So what NAMS do is it is a set of tests that uses non-animal based approaches. So you're using in vitro or in silico or computational models or in chemical approaches to predict the toxicological effects of substances even before you go for any animal testing if there is a need for that.
I understand. So, and I guess that ethical concerns are a major reason behind the move away from this animal testing. Can you maybe explain how NAMs address these concerns, and are they really a better alternative also in terms of accuracy and reliability?
Yeah, so ethics is one of the issues that, like you said, has been associated with animal-based tests. Now, this issue of ethics relates to the animal husbandry practices around these approaches. For example, there is a need for restricted diets or movements, and also the pain that is inflicted on these animal test subjects. And this presents, animal welfare concerns. So that is a bit of the ethical concerns that are associated with these approaches. Now, in terms of NAMS itself, they do not fully replace the use of animals in toxicological testing. It is a way to reduce the use of animals in safety testing. Now there is a 3R policy. So the goal here is to employ the 3R policy, which is to refine, reduce, and replace where relevant. So where it is needed, these NAMs are employed to refine an animal-based method or to reduce, or where there is strong evidence to replace it. So NAMs are employed as an initial testing approach, and if there is a need for further testing, then we go further to have animal testing. So, for example, we can have computational models like the QSAR, that is the quantitative structure activity relationships. And this is a computational approach that you can use to predict some substances to provide earlier insights. So, for example, let's say you have thousands of substances, but then you are restricted with time and you are unable to, perform animal tests on all of these. You can employ NAMs to help you rank or decide which are the necessary ones to go forward. So yes, ethics are an issue when it comes to animal tests, but the goal here is to reduce and refine and replace where relevant. In terms of the accuracy and reliability of NAMs, there is a lot of work that is currently being done to ensure their validation and standardization. And this has been pioneered by the European Union Reference Laboratory for Alternatives to Animal Testing, that is the ECVA, and also the OECD. And once these methods have been validated and approved, it connotes that they are reliable or they can be used for further testing.
Fully understand. So, and what are actually some of the major challenges in applying these NAMs to food safety testing, particular for complex food matrices?
Yeah. So now, complex food matrices, when it comes to testing complex food matrices, you are testing the product assets. So instead of having a purified substance that you know that this contains, let's say, X percentage of polyphenols or Y percentage of something else. In complex food matrices, most of the times you're testing the neat form of the product as will be consumed or as will be incorporated in a food product. And the challenge is that it is sometimes not feasible to characterize every constituent in that complex matrix. That is why we call them complex food matrices. So most of the times you would focus on the main constituent. So, for example, a polyphenol-rich substance, you quantify or you characterize the main polyphenols. Now, the issue here is we have variability in the complex food matrices because each planting season would present, a variable composition based on different, what has been employed, the horticultural practices, um, the weather, the plant stress, and all these prevailing conditions in the environment can affect the variability of the composition. So that is one issue, variability. And the second one is that solubility can also be an issue. So if you have an extract that is not soluble enough, it will be challenging to know what doses are really exposed to the cells or how much of these is being exposed to the cells, because you are testing a dose effect relationship. So that is also an issue. And also when you have highly pigmented substances, so if you have substances that are naturally pigmented, for example, these are going to be used as natural colors. Sometimes they can interfere with colorimetric readings. And if, for example, you need to have one of the tests that you need to do a plate reading, it can interfere. So these three main issues of variability, solubility, and natural pigments, they can present issues when we are using NAMs for their testing.
Thank you for these insights. Ma'am, I would like to shift gears now and talk a little bit about the regulatory and industrial impact. So how is the regulatory landscape changing when it comes to the acceptance of NAMs for food safety assessments? And are we seeing here some progress, or are there still significant barriers?
Well, I would say that we are seeing progress, but in my opinion, they are quite slow. And currently, there are several publications, including our own, what we presented at the recent Food Safety Forum. We have highlighted that the use of NAMs in regulatory decision making can be rapid, and there is a reason for why there is. I mean, there's a reason why they are using. Regulatory decision making seems to be slow. This is because now, when a laboratory develops NAMs, they need to undergo validation and standardization, and these takes a number of years because regulatory agencies would prefer that companies adopt NAMs that have been approved, for example, by EFCAM, or there is a guideline by the OECD. So that is the reason why these NAMs, the approvals seem to be slow. But then I would highlight the fact that there is progress that is being made. So, for example, in the recent EFSA updated guidance on novel food applications, they encourage the use of NAMs. Okay, so they encourage that companies who are putting forward novel food dossier should employ the use of NAMs if available prior to employing animal-based tests when necessary. Additionally, there is also the TSAR, which is the tracking system for alternative methods towards regulatory acceptance. And this is an initiative, it is a website that tracks the progress of which NAMs have been validated. So various stakeholders, companies can go on the website and see which NAMs they are employing and if they have been validated. Because if you use validated NAMs, it the regulatory agencies accept it better than NAMs that have been published in research and have not been validated. So yes, the regulatory landscape is changing gradually. We are seeing some progress, but then the barriers relates to the fact that these NAMs have to go through some years of validation and standardization.
When we talk about startups and small and middle-sized companies as well as innovation labs, they are often at the forefront of new food technologies, right? So how do you see them benefiting from the adoption of NAMs in their safety assessment strategies?
Yeah, so startups, as well as innovation labs, they are often generating new ingredients, and some of which would qualify as novel foods according to the regulatory definition. So they could benefit from using NAMs. This is because these environments are highly dynamic, so they are often constrained by time, by resources, cost implications, and also expertise. So NAMs can be a way for them to have rapid decision making when they have unlimited time and limited resources. So it can be a way for them to decide quickly on what is going to go forward and also prioritize their testing. And this can be of benefits for them if they need to go through novel food approval submissions and if they would employ validated NAMs for excess risk assessment.
So, looking ahead, what advancements in NAMs do you believe will have the most impact on food safety testing? What are the key areas of development that researchers like yourself are focusing on?
Yeah, so I believe that NAMs it's a research area that keeps improving, that keeps having new discoveries. So currently, majority of the NAMs incorporates 2D cell culture systems. So you have cell lines that are in 2D cell lines. But then we see that currently there are discoveries that are being made when it comes to 3D models. I believe that 3D in vitro models would have an impact on the future of food safety testing. And this will help to address the challenges encountered in 2D systems. So 3D cultures like organoids, and these organoids can closely mimic how substances interact with human organs. A typical example is a 3D liver cell line called HEPA-RG. And this HEPA-RG has been said to be useful for toxicokinetic studies, which we are unable to do in 2D setups. So I believe that 3D models will be essential and they can complement some of the work we are doing using in silico tools to predict toxicokinetic properties of natural extracts. So we use in silico tools in our lab to predict toxicokinetic properties, but we are unable to do that. We are unable to perform that in 2D systems. So new discoveries such as the HEPA-RG cell line would complement the work we are doing in silico. And the last time I checked, this system is undergoing validation. And once it is validated, I believe that it can be widely employed by the industry. So we are adding to the conversation and through publications and also developing in-house protocols for testing complex matrices. And we believe that over time, this can be employed by several researchers.
That's very, very interesting. And Ma'am, we are already coming to an end of this episode, and I have a final question. How do you see the future of food safety evolving in the next 5 to 10 years, and what role will NAMs and other maybe innovative technologies play in ensuring consumer safety while promoting sustainable practices?
Yes, so I think that the future of food safety will involve the use of NAMs because of what has previously been said. And current research is aiming to improve NAMs in terms of their reproducibility, their validation, and their regulatory acceptance. So I believe that the regulatory acceptance of NAMs will be critical to how wide NAMs are employed by startups, by research labs, and by innovation labs. I believe that 3D models will play a key role. And I also see the increased use of computational models to predict safety of substances prior to their testing in the lab environment. So these are the areas I think will characterize future of food safety testing when it comes to NAMs.
Thank you, Ma'am, for sharing your insights. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you for tuning in to our podcast, Young Minds of Food Safety. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss out on the latest insights from the brightest young minds in food safety. For more information and to stay updated on the Food Safety for EU project, visit our website at www.foodsafety4.eu. We'll see you in the next episode.